Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas, and today I'm recording episode, I don't know, 316 or something. And I have with me Beau Bratton, founder and CEO at Ricochet. Is it Ricochet360 or just Ricochet?
You got it, Tony. Ricochet360.
Ricochet360. Perfect. So, Beau, thank you for joining me today. How's it going?
Thank you, Tony. Fabulous, fabulous. Yes. All things considered in the world, trying to not pay too much attention to the news. But other than, all the things that are going on in the world, I'm very happy. I've got two beautiful daughters and a beautiful wife from Brazil, and, trying to grow entrepreneurship and mentor people and grow a company and also grow a family at the same time.
Fantastic. And you are in Southern California, right?
That's right. I live in Torrance, and our offices are based out of El Segundo.
Okay. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. So we always give the guest the chance of giving the elevator pitch for what you guys do. So what is Ricochet 360?
Sounds good, Tony. Yeah, so Ricochet360 is an all-in-one sales automation platform that consists of dialer systems. So we have predictive dialer, we have a progressive dialer, we have preview dialer, all the dialer modes you could ever imagine. It's also a CRM, so like a Salesforce. It's an advanced CRM. It is also a marketing automation platform. So it does your text messaging, it does your emailing, and all of that combined in an incredibly efficient manner, so that we really try to take the thought process away from the salesperson. The easiest way to describe it is, in a typical situation for an insurance company, they are sitting and operating, 5 or 6 different softwares. They're using a dialer, they're using a phone system for their phones, they're using a text messaging system, maybe an emailing system. Separate from that, sometimes combined, they're using a CRM system, right? Sometimes they're doing social media systems. So, they're logging in all over the place, and they're trying to get those systems to communicate together. And if you're a smaller insurance company of 2 to 5, 10 people, that's a lot of work. And what we try to help enable is for those smaller and mid-sized and large companies, but really for those smaller and mid-sized insurance agencies to be able to do it all in one place. We really built the template. Our partners came from some of the top performing agencies in the space across different carriers, and ultimately we built the best template. So we give everybody the email, the text messaging cadences, the dialer campaign cadences, the entire integrations with all the lead providers and the recommendations. And so in the end, they train their users and they load them up in the system, and all their users have to do is just say, I'm ready to go. In the morning, they go online, and Ricochet will just start dialing the leads, automatically start emailing, automatically start text messaging, and really makes it easy so that you have a predictable revenue outcome. When you allow the agents to kind of pick and choose, oh, well, I want to do this and I want to do that, you get unpredictable results, right? Now we take the unpredictability away from the equation and make a very streamlined, simple process with a simple all-in-one solution. That was a mouthful, but that's the best way I can describe it.
Okay, so there's a lot there. Okay, so I was taking notes, kind of, so I could remember all of this. And the first thing that so I love the idea of the all-in-one sales/marketing automation platform, like because yes, in insurance, very, very, very often we've got 6 different systems don't talk to each other. You've got a ton of inefficiency because of that, and it makes everybody's life harder and less effective, right? So I love the idea of all in one place. I spent a couple of years of my life in the call center type space, like as a rep at an insurance carrier, a little over a year, an insurance carrier, and now we were an outbound, but I did become a little bit familiar with it. All the different types of dialers I'm not super familiar with, and I'm guessing that the type of agencies that have not figured this out yet probably aren't either. So I am curious. So what's a predictive dialer and a progressive dialer? And I think you mentioned another dialer. I wasn't fast enough to type it. But what are the different types of dialers that the system can help you with?
That's a great question, and it is often very confused because the names lead you to think it's one thing or another, and it's not necessarily so. I'll start with what most insurance companies really need to use, and I'll even frame what that company is doing on a daily basis. So I'm talking about the insurance agency that is buying internet leads, right, from lead providers, and then they want to call those internet leads. And they're maybe generating their own internet leads as well through their own marketing efforts. That type of agency is where we really shine, although we can help others. But ultimately, and I would just say this across the board for any platform, whatever you're looking to do. I'm not trying to self-promote too much here. But so a progressive dialer is what you're going to want for that. And what a progressive dialer does is it will call one lead at a time. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio. Basically, you would go online to the dialer, whatever dialer system it is, and you say, I'm ready to go, and start. And it will find one lead based on an algorithm, basically it'll just look through the system and say, okay, this is the best lead to call right now. It will pop that lead up and it will start dialing the lead, and you'll hear the ringing noise. And if the consumer picks up, then you're talking to them. And that's a 1-to-1 dialing ratio, and that's what we call a progressive dialer. And that's really
how is it figuring out which lead to call?
So in most dialer systems, you will set up your filters and your priorities. At least in Ricochet, I can say you'll build. We give you actually pre-built dialer campaigns. So this has all been kind of figured out again, like I said, because we templatized it. But basically, we built the cadence. So it says, okay, we're going to call a real-time lead. Like, for example, if a real-time lead comes in right now, that has the highest propensity of being contacted. So that has the highest, that will be called first.
Makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Any other leads that maybe, there's also regulation. So you can only call between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. and certain states have regulation. So our system looks at all that, and most systems do. And ultimately, maybe it's too early, but as soon as a lead is available to be called, it'll call those if it hasn't been called yet. And then from that point, there's different strategies. One is called the double tap, and what that is you call them, and then just pretty quickly after that, maybe a minute or 30 seconds later, you'll call it again if you didn't reach them, or 5 minutes. People have different strategies, whether they do it 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes, but it's pretty quick, a secondary call after that first real-time call. And then once you've already tried the initial calls on a lead, then we have built strategies for, you can build priorities to call your data based on what performs best historically, right? So for example, if you know that one particular lead provider is your best, you spend the most amount of money on them, they convert the highest, they've got the highest value for you, you'll prioritize those to be the aged lead follow-up calls first, as opposed to leads that may not be from a same quality source. And then it goes on down the line as you get more age. So maybe eventually you're calling a lead that's 30 days old, right? Or 60 days old. And so that's all pre-built in Ricochet. Templatized made it easy. You don't have to think about it. And you just go online, and again, it's calling real time, and then it's calling fresh leads, it's double tapping, and so on and so forth. So progressive dialer, though, again, is a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning you're only calling one lead at a time. Your agent hears the ringing, and then if the person picks up, great. If you get a voicemail, you get a voicemail. Okay, very basic. Predictive dialer is where you change the ratio. So a predictive dialer, you can set the ratio anywhere from a 2-to-1, 3-to-1, a 4-to-1, 5-to-1, 10-to-1. The list goes on and on. And depending on what ratio you set, the system will actually dial that many leads at the same exact time. So I'm an agent. I log on. I say I'm ready to go. Predictive dial. And boom, depending on the ratio, let's say the ratio is a 5-to-1, it's going to call 5 leads right now immediately. Okay, predicting that many of those are not going to pick up the phone. On top of that, what a predictive dialer has is what's called voicemail detection. So it is going to analyze the voicemail, or really it's going to analyze when the phone is connected, when it picks up, on whether it is a voicemail or whether it's a person. It's not 100% accurate. There is no such perfect accuracy when it comes to these voicemail detections, unfortunately. So it will decide whether it's a human or not. It will disconnect the calls that it determines to be a voicemail, and it will connect if it determines to be a human. And the strategy behind that is that you would have multiple people operating the predictive dialer at the same time, each one making 5 calls at a time, knowing that if, Johnny, if one of the 5 calls, or actually if 2 of the 5 calls pick up, he's going to get the first one that picks up. But the second one that picks up, the system will actually look to connect that with another agent that's available, that's qualified to match that lead, and so on and so forth. And ultimately, you will be more efficient with the time spent on the phone. But, and this is a big but, there are a whole bunch of drawbacks when it comes to predictive dialing as a best strategy for insurance agencies that fit the framework that I was saying, where they're buying internet leads. And that is, there's false positives. Sometimes you hang up on real people with predictive dialer. Sometimes you actually connect to voicemails too. And also, people are privy to this now. I'm sure you as well, Tony, have gotten calls and you say hello, and if a second or 2 goes by, it's a call center. We call it, and this is, hopefully nobody takes offense to this term, it's called the pregnant pause. We call it the pregnant pause because that's the voicemail detection trying to determine if it's a human or not. And so when I get a call, and more affluent people, when you get a call and you hear a delay, it's someone trying to sell you something or something else. And I hang up those calls usually. I don't know about you, but I typically, hello? Well, okay, I don't even, right?
I'm worse. I don't answer anything that
you don't answer anything
not in my address book.
Yes, well, that's kind of the future, Tony. You're a visionary there, because that's kind of where it's going. And there's a lot of other things around that I'm predicting for the future with regards to, spam and digital signing of phone calls, and all the regulation that recently came in with the A2P 10 DLC is all around that problem. Really, you're doing that because there's a problem, and they're trying to come up with a better solution so that you might be able to pick up more calls, or at least know that what you see is actually what you get.
And I'll pause you there for a second. By the way, thank you for the explanation of the dialers. That was fascinating.
There's a little more, but we'll stop there.
I do want to know the little more, but I was going to make two comments. Number one, not only does this affect my personal life in that I get so many crap calls that I just don't answer them if I don't know who it is. But number two, it also affects my professional life. In my professional life, I don't sell insurance, but I sell staffing services to insurance companies. And my targets just don't answer the phone. And we have seen the decline. I did some research on this late last year, and basically I went to the leadership and I said, hey, our strategy of calling out. I ran some stats on our CRM 6 years ago. The answer rate was like 1 in 4, and today it's like 1 in 22. Right. So it's like we have to try something different, right? It's just no longer a good way to get it in front of people. Now we don't have that sort of technology you're describing.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question on that. Did you actually look at a time frame when it really started to dip? Because we did, and what we noticed is last year, okay, a lot of the carriers started to crack down and implement some of these practices.
A lot of the phone carriers.
Yeah, the phone carriers,
okay.
T-Mobile, AT&T, started marking calls as spam likely, right?
True.
So you see that, and a lot of companies. The consumers wouldn't tell them, the people wouldn't tell them, and they wouldn't, because they weren't answering the phone because it said spam likely. A lot of your numbers may have actually been marked, might have been marked as spam, and that's why you're not getting pickup. So we actually noticed a huge decline in pickup rates across the board when they started to implement this, and we came out with a product called Spam Guru,
okay,
that does a whole bunch of things to make sure that you, for the most part, don't have as much spam likely, and therefore that has lifted up the pickup rates again. So you may talk to your organization about looking into some spam solutions that might be part of the problem. Although times have changed, you are correct about that.
So I don't have the presentation in front of me, but our decline happened before that. And also the type of client we call, we're at least before COVID, we're calling them at the office. We're not calling their cell phone. But anyway, I don't want to get too far away. But I definitely see how this would be super useful, basically. So, was there another type of dialer other than the predictive and the progressive?
Yeah, there's a preview dialer as well. And the preview dialer is just for companies that really want to be more conservative. So instead of it just automatically starting to call and ring the number, it'll pop up with the next lead to call. And that way you can read through the notes and the information and have a little more time between calls. So it's less efficient. When you're ready, then you click to dial it. That's called a preview dialer. It keeps popping up the next one to call. When you're ready, you click to dial. And that's nice if you're more of like a strategic sales company and you need to kind of review it.
I'm really liking what I'm hearing in that one system gives me all the different options in how I want to approach it. So on one hand, it's templated to be the most efficient based on what you guys have learned doing this over the years. But on the other hand, you're also giving me the option of being able to choose what I'm comfortable with, what I want to try. So this is very cool. So now this kind of thing, and maybe I'm just not up to date in call center technology, but this kind of technology makes sense to me that would be available for if you run a large and modern call center type. But if this is available to insurance agents, I'm very curious, like, what size of insurance agency do you have to be for this to make sense and to be cost effective? Like do we need to have 100 people on the phones, or you're kidding me?
One. Yeah, we allow just for insurance only, one user, and we're coming out with some new stuff where you're going to be able to just sign up as one user and be off and running same day.
So the revenue model, the cost is by the head, basically.
Correct.
So with no minimum.
Correct.
That is absolutely fantastic. But there are so many agencies out there that are mom and pop shops, so to speak, right? That have 4 people, 5 people, 3 people, a single I wouldn't even call them producer, a single agent, right? And very, very, very often those are the ones that really have the worst tools by definition, right? Those are the ones where it's literally like a phone book or just a bunch of purchase leads, right, like the only tool they have is check against the do not call list and then dial, right, and it's very, 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 very inefficient.
Yeah, and they get in trouble and they make mistakes. And we're the technology for the people. Absolutely. I have people walk up to me. We just got back from the LeadsCon conference, and people walk up to me and they said, I just want to thank you because I am doing all these things I've always wanted to do, and I'm managing for my company on my own, and you make it manageable, right? Whereas before I didn't have anything close to this, and now I'm performing, and I'm one of the top performers in the country for Allstate or Farmers or whatever, and we're hearing more and more of that. So you're right. It makes it accessible. It makes the difficult, complex technology accessible and easy to use for the the David versus the Goliath type of situation.
And to give it a try, is it a 6-month commitment? Is it like how? Like, is it a month-by-month contract? Like, how long do I have to sign up to give it a try?
Yeah, no, I know it's hard to believe, but you can actually pick a month-to-month contract, a quarterly contract, or an annual contract. So you save a little money if you do annual or quarterly. But we're big believers in, even though it's not great from a churn perspective and an investment perspective, we don't care. We want people to love the technology that they use. Otherwise, they shouldn't have to use it. And there's a lot of companies that lock you in right off the bat. You can't try it, you can't see it. You can see a demo, but you can't try it, you can't do anything. It's going to be a difficult, big commitment, and it's only a year. And then you're not happy where you got in and you're stuck. And it's difficult to get out and transition at the end of the year and plan and coordinate all that. So none of that with us. It's one user, 1 month, try it out. If you love it, which we hope you will, then we've got a client for life. And our clients really grow. That's one of the things that people really were impressed with our numbers, is that, of course, when you sign up a lot of single users, sometimes they're just not successful on their own and you get churn. But ultimately, our clients tend to add a lot of additional agents. They hire more people, which is good for everybody in the ecosystem. It's good for you, Tony, with a recruitment company, right? So they're going to use your services after they use ours.
So I'm looking at the website. I like that the website very openly shares the price. So the basic version is 135 per month. So yeah, nothing to lose to try it for a month. Quite literally, like 135 bucks. It's definitely worth a gamble to give it a shot. Okay, so we talked about the dialing piece. We've concentrated a lot on the dialing piece. So the CRM piece, you said like Salesforce. Is it built on top of Salesforce, or is it it's completely separate, its own thing?
Yeah, it's its own thing. The nice thing about Ricochet is it's really modular. Like if you aren't allowed to do text messaging on third-party systems, you can just disable the text messaging module and not have it in Ricochet when you show up. Same with email. So we custom built the CRM, and it's extremely advanced. It will pull in information from social media as well. So when you're calling a lead, you might get a fresh lead. It'll pop up with their photo, a link to their Facebook, their LinkedIn. And it automatically pulls all information in real time. You can screen pop to scripting, so you can have all your agents have exactly what to say right there and dynamically. So if the person says yes or no, it'll take you to the next step. Again, we try to make it as efficient and easy and smooth to use as possible. And so, the CRM, the difference between this and Salesforce is, Salesforce, you need like 3 MIT grads to configure.
It's a beast, yeah.
And a long time, right?
Yeah.
Ours is drag and drop, easy to configure, easy to use, already integrated with all the lead providers out there, easy to upload your data. Again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but everything we do is about efficiency and ease of use, really.
Okay. No, it doesn't replace the agency management system, right?
Correct. You still typically would use your agency management system, and you can often integrate Ricochet360 with that through webhooks. But that is correct.
Okay. So as of right now, I know the agency management systems in general are not super easy to integrate with. So out of the box, how well does it integrate with kind of there's only like 2 or 3 big players in that market?
Well, I'll tell you this much. So within Ricochet, I don't want to get too technical to get people rolling their eyes, but ultimately our system built in has pretty much every single type of integration availability without the need to do any custom work. So for example, the most integrations, again, here's where we get a little technical, but most integrations use HTTP posts or JSON or XML posts or GET. And with our system, you can do all of those right through the interface. And we also often have them pre-built in templates. So we click a button or it's already there. And then you just put in your token or your token or custom token that would give you validation to that third-party system. And it does authentication as well. So, without going into all the woods, we would talk about them and what system they're on and see what we could do for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So I'm looking at my notes. So, you mentioned new regulation that and you mentioned the name. I didn't write it down. So what happened on the regulatory side that is significantly affecting the outbound calling side?
Yeah, not just outbound calling, but also text messaging. So ultimately, over the last few years, obviously, people have been inundated with spam calls. People are faking numbers and doing robodials, and you're getting call, recordings to press 1 for auto warranty, this, that, or the other thing, right? And obviously, the entire world pretty much has felt the pain and suffering of this ongoing barrage. So it is a problem. Unfortunately, the FTC and these government agencies and private agencies, they're not always the best at really coming up with the best solution really quickly. So sometimes we have to jump through a lot of loopholes and whatnot, or problems, more inefficiencies. But ultimately, it's called A2P 10 DLC. And what it is basically registering your numbers, okay, with the carriers. So in the past, if a number called in, let's say that a number was sent to a carrier like AT&T, and it says, okay, the number is 310, 9999999. That's the number that is the caller ID. That's the number that's calling in right now. And they're calling to your number, Tony, okay? They would send it through and you would see the number and you'd pick it up and it wouldn't be that number.
You can spoof it. Yeah.
You can spoof it. And so now when they look at the number, they're seeing if it's registered. And then if it is registered, it'll be registered to a business. So they can validate it and they'll let it through. And now they're actually even blocking some of the calls. If it's not registered and they don't see it, anything seems even out of sorts, it's just not going to make its way through. And same thing with text messaging. Or what will happen is they will mark it as spam likely. And that's a whole black box with each carrier of the reason that they mark them as spam likely. But if you make too many phone calls on the same number, if you get reported by people as saying like, hey, I never requested this, there's a variety of ways that you can get kind of marked. And it's really a black box. But ultimately, once you are marked and you're calling and your number shows up as spam likely, people stop picking up the phone for the most part, obviously. And so yeah, we came out with a product called Spam Guru. What it will do is it will help you detect if your number's been marked as spam, pull it out of the rotation, bring new numbers in that are clean, and also sort of move through those numbers to lower the frequency of calls. So you kind of set, okay, I want to cap the number of phone calls I make on any given number to 25 a day, or 50 or 75, whatever you want to be conservative or more aggressive. And it will control that process for you. It also registers your number with the carriers, which is really one of the most important things. And what that gives you is what's called A attestation. Once you have A attestation, it's basically saying, okay, you're verified that the traffic coming through, wherever, Twilio or into AT&T, okay, yeah, we know these guys, we know it's this Allstate or this Farmers or this Independent, and boom, we're going to let it through. We're not going to mark it as spam. And they're
It's
also
not a
making
spoof number. Yeah.
It's not a spoof number. But even if you are, registered, that does not mean you're not going to be marked as spam, because if you're still registered, but you're just making too many phone calls and you're getting reported, they're going to still mark you for spam. That's why it's important to not only register your number, but also have the technology there to detect when you're marked as spam and to limit the chances of being marked as spam. And that's what our Spam Guru product does. And it's been a huge success to help people, because it was a major decline in contact rates across the entire every industry, really.
I'm curious, what's the cost of each extra number? So so it's $135 a month for the base level. If I want 10 numbers versus 50 numbers, what is the cost difference?
Sure, absolutely. So, and one other thing to point out is that a lot of companies charge a per minute fee for inbound and outbound calls on top of the monthly rate, and we don't. So that's all inclusive, unlimited incoming and outgoing calls for the 135 for that contract. And then the numbers vary depending on if you're getting toll-free numbers or local numbers. So you can also acquire toll-free 800 numbers and local numbers. And then we also have what's called local caller ID. So wherever you're calling, it will show a local number if you want to set that up, especially for the areas that you call the most. Mm-hmm. And it's usually about $2 for local numbers, and I want to say like $4 or $5 a month for toll-free numbers. But again, you don't pay for telephony. And if you have a massive amount of numbers, like over 100 numbers, that's not massive, but if you have over 100 numbers, we can work with you on the per number fees as well. But we've looked at the marketplace and we feel that for everything that we do, we're actually below market, much more affordable. And that's where we again, we're really the technology for the people. That's what we try to be. One other thing is I didn't mention that the text messaging regulations are similar, but there's also, they're detecting the words that you're putting in your text messages. So like if you're putting quotes in your text messages, or if you're saying, hey, I know you applied for insurance, can I get you a quote? Or here's a link if you're putting links in your text messages. Those are the things that can block them. Yeah.
I was gonna make this point, but literally my phone is ringing with a 515
Is that your
area code. So
Yep.
basically, tip for everybody to almost always know that it's a spam call. Get a phone number in one area and then move. Then in my case, I went to school in Iowa, but I have not lived in Iowa since 2011. But my number is still a 515 number. So basically, if I get a 515 call, I know it's spam because like if it's a friend or something, you'll be in the address book, right? Like I have not lived in the area for so long that there's no reason to get a number for call from a 515 number that's an actual call. So that's really helped me. Anyway, it's just kind of funny how it happens right as we're chatting, because that's how often it happens.
Good point. And what I would also say that where the future is going, Tony, is in addition to that, there's going to be more contextual information on the call. It's not just going to show 515. If they have a attestation, and in the future, and it's already happening in certain, depending on what type of phone you have and what apps installed, it will actually show the name of the company. It'll say Allstate or Farmers or whatever.
And if
I can choose to pick up then.
Yeah, exactly. It's annoying both ways, right? It's annoying that I get a lot of calls I don't want, and then it's annoying that if I did request a quote, right, and I ignore the call because it's an unknown number, that's also annoying.
And then you got to call back and wait, or just yeah. So there just needs to be more transparency there, and that's really ultimately where it's going. That's the intent of the new regulations is good, although some of the rules that they put in place are very difficult for the technology providers such as ourselves, but we don't need to get into that and bore everybody with that stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so I like it. I like the fact that it's accessible to small agencies, and I like it'll keep you compliant while also helping you actually connect with the people that are looking for a quote. So that's really good. Any great customer stories, like customers that saw just like if you have any numbers to share from customers, even without using their name, that I always ask for customer success stories, basically.
Well, I mean, I can say, and some of them are on our website, Ricochet360.com. We had insurance brokerage right there that their contact rates had fallen, I believe, and I may be misquoting those, to around like 15% or something like that. And when they implemented Spam Guru, it tripled, and more than tripled. And that's a testimonial that we have on our website from an insurance agency, and we hear about that all the time. That's one of the biggest things that we're doing. And also, we've also heard that people say that, they used to make an average of, let's say, 50 phone calls a day per agent only, or maybe even 75. With Ricochet, we have these things called hot buttons. So you just hit a button between every phone call. It automatically dispositions the lead, hangs up the call, sends a text message and an email, and dials the next number. And it's so efficient that people are making 350, 400 calls a day on average across their agents. So imagine, it's funny, I think I just heard Elon Musk say the other day, I'm not a fan of the hustle culture. I like more of a relaxed environment. My wife's from Brazil. We all like to, barbecue and hang out more, but nonetheless, numbers are numbers, right? And so the Elon said, if the competition is just working, 40 hours a week and you work 100, right? And you multiply that over a year, you're more than twice, you get more than twice the output. And so, yeah, if you were at 70, look at your numbers. If you're at 75 calls a day or even 100 calls a day, you could go to 300, 400. Yes, not all phone calls get picked up, but your output will definitely increase significantly. They may not pick up the phone as much these days. They still do, but they do call back voicemails once they know who you are. And so, yeah, that efficiency is what people really love the most, is just taking it all and making it really easy to do. Yeah.
Okay. Um, Early at the very beginning, you mentioned that where it's a really good match is for agencies that buy a lot of leads. Do the leads need to come in a specific format, or I'm just curious on is there a specific list of providers who like is basically any lead provider compatible?
Yeah, I mean, now because we've been doing this for over a decade now, we're pretty much have done an integration with every single lead provider out there that we've seen. But even if you have like your own WordPress site that you're hosting, right? For example, and you need to get you want to post those leads into Ricochet. It is the easiest API in the history of mankind. It's so easy it actually confuses people sometimes. So like, wait, I need more information. No, it's that easy. Literally, we accept pretty much any type of post, right? Whether it's in JSON or XML or HTTP posts. Those are the three most common integration ways that any lead provider does it. And what we can say is like, let's just say you have a new lead provider, brand new, that nobody's ever seen before, or they've only worked with a small handful of people, and you could say, hey, do you have an integration with anybody at all? Yes, I do. Who is it? Okay, great. Take the Ricochet360 posting URL and swap it out with that one. It'll work, because that's how easy it is. You don't, so, and we did that on purpose because we used to have in the beginning, many years ago, companies trying to get set up and integrating, and it would take, a month or 45 days or even 2 months, because, oh, we have to wait. They've got to push code, and they go, oh, there's an error in it. Now we got to wait till the next code deployment to get that working, right? And so we just made it so easy, and we do all the mapping on our side. In fact, we have an auto mapping system that maps pretty much all of it for you without you needing to do anything. So yeah, you can also upload your data through a wizard that'll walk you through taking a CSV and importing it into the system. And then it also will tag all of your leads. So you can segment your data. You could say, okay, I want to look at auto, if it's a Honda, if they're looking for a certain amount of insurance, whatever, if they're in this area, or if they're in the military, you can build all those filters, and then you can say, okay, I want to index and tag all my leads, and it will look through the entire database that you've uploaded into the system and you've received over time, and it will tag those leads. And then you can say, okay, now I want to build a marketing campaign to do email marketing or a dialer campaign or a text messaging campaign to that tag in particular. And then you can, what I call it, hyper-targeted omni-channel communications, in that then you can build a campaign what's very specific to the data, the use case. It would say, hey, if you own a Honda, which we believe you do, give us a call because blah, 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 right? And that's just a very simple rudimentary example, but sky's the limit. It really allows you to define and tag all of your data, segment your data, so that you can then target it in a very granular way.
Okay, I didn't even know that agencies did that.
You can get kind of mad scientist on it.
Okay. Okay, awesome. Yeah, that it's been very interesting. Absolutely very interesting. We're running a little long, but I am curious how the idea came. Since you didn't come from an agency background yourself, so how did you realize that your mad scientist marketing skill set would be a good fit for the insurance agency space?
Yeah, everybody loves to hear kind of the story of how things came to be, and I came from a sales background, so I used a lot of different CRM systems and dialers and phone systems, and I was very particular about what I liked. And I started playing around back in the day with lead generation and acai cleanse and colon cleanse, affiliate marketing, and I just didn't like it. It felt very cheesy and really shady. I don't want to make money just to make money. I really wanted to invent something that was unique. And so I stumbled upon telephony, being able to, I saw that you could connect a lead with a salesperson in an automated fashion using telephony. And nobody was doing it at the time. And that was my big aha moment. And so I built a very rudimentary, simple, it didn't even have an interface, API that you could post a lead into, and it would trigger a phone call that would ring your phone, right? And that was like the original thing. But then how did we get to where it's one of the most popular, 15% of all state agents use Ricochet360? How do you get there, right? And the way that we did that is I was at a conference, and a bunch of Allstate agents walked up to me, and they were like the top 3 agents in the country. And they say, we've been hearing about you, and it really works well for insurance. And we did have some insurance clients already. We didn't really know it would be so great for insurance. We actually started selling it originally mortgage, primarily mortgage companies, and education schools, for-profit schools, online schools, and different industries. And then they said, look, we think that this would really benefit us, and we're willing to help, kind of promote it. And then we were introduced to different individuals, and pretty soon, when you have like 70% of the top 10 agencies in Allstate using your solution, a thing I love about insurance, I like to call it kind of like a cult, because everybody tells everybody about everything, and everybody follows what they're telling them to do because they want to be successful too. Whereas in mortgage, where it's very regional or very like territorial, they don't want people to know what their secret sauce is. They don't tell anybody, but love insurance agents screaming from the rooftops. This is why I'm so great, right? And I love that. And so it's really blown up from there. But yeah, it was happenstance. We didn't really know what we had on our hands until the clients figured it out for us and came to us and said, hey, you got something great, and we want to help you promote it. And that's where it began. So it really began with Allstate, though. We got a bunch of Allstate agents, and that grew, and then we went independents, and kind of branched out from there.
Excellent. Very, very interesting. Thank you very much for your time. I'll tag you on LinkedIn when it goes live, and I'll include the website. But yeah, agents, try it. Like, you have nothing to lose. I guarantee you pretty much all have this problem of people not answering their phone, and your salespeople not calling out nearly as much as you want them to, because it's painful. So
yeah, do
awesome.
something about it. Even if it's not Ricochet, do something about it for sure. It'll help out a lot. And Tony, thank you so much. It's nice to meet you as well, via virtual, and appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you very much.